Episode 36, Olympic figure skating gold medalist, cancer survivor, philosopher, Scott Hamilton. Welcome to The Art of Excellence, a show about people doing extraordinary things in their lives. I'm your host, Glenn Zweig. Thanks for joining me. My guest today is Scott Hamilton. Scott is a retired figure skater and Olympic gold medalist. He won 4 consecutive U.S. championships from 1981 to 1984, 4 consecutive world championships from 81 to 84, and a gold medal in the 1984 Olympics. Since that time, he has been a TV commentator, a motivational speaker, the founder of a skating academy, a cancer survivor, and the founder of a cancer research center. He is a New York Times bestselling author, and his latest book is called Finish First: Winning Changes Everything. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on.
I gotta ask, if you didn't win the gold but you won the silver, would the book be called Finish Second because winning isn't all it's cracked up to be?
Well, I know the book is called Finish First, but for anyone who, if that was the best I could have done, that's a finish first moment, right? So it's finish first isn't so much about, gold or nothing, gold or loser. It's about, for me, I thought I was going to be 8th in Lake Placid at the Olympics at the best. I did the math. I saw the people around me, and I thought 8th would be a finish first. I came in 5th. So it was way better than for me, that was a finish first. So whatever the result is you're looking for, whatever the goal is that you've set for yourself, when you accomplish it, it's a finish first moment. So for me, going into the Olympics in 1984, I hadn't lost a competition in 4 years. So if I wouldn't have won that competition, it would have been a failure. It wouldn't have been a win. But for the bronze medalist, Joseph Zabobchik, he didn't even think he was going to be on the podium. So for him, that was his finish first moment as well. So it's not always about first is winner, second is first loser, third is, hey, look at me, I'm up here with the big guys. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with setting your goals based on your capabilities and trying to take them as far and as high as you possibly can.
Fair enough. I want to start with a quote of yours that I really admire. The only disability in life is a bad attitude.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, did you once have that disability yourself, or have you always had this positive mindset?
That quote happened actually when I was in the throes of chemotherapy and when I was doing all my treatments for cancer, and it's like, do you feel disabled? And it's like, no. No, I don't feel disabled at all. I'm going through something right now. Honestly, what I said was, I truly believe that the only true disability in life is a bad attitude. So you can handle anything. I've met people in all walks of life, in every physical, mental, emotional condition. They're not handicapped. They are brilliantly, beautifully made. And they are, they can be joyful under any circumstance. So really the disability, the only thing that holds you back is, in many respects, your mindset. And I get a lot of people, when that quote goes up on the internet, I get people saying, well, tell that to my sister, or tell that to my brother who's got this or who's got that. And it's not about that. It's about you can rise above anything.
Have you always had this positive disposition, or is this something that came later in in life?
If anyone could describe someone that, kind of has it all, it wouldn't be me. It's like in a lot of the speeches I give, I do a lot of corporate and motivational speaking. I tell a story about a friend of mine who just looked at me and said, I've got this new thing. And I go, what is it? And he goes, personal ads, personal ads in newspapers. Like if you're looking for somebody, I go, yeah, I got it. He goes, what is it about personal ads? He goes, you've got to be 100% honest. And so my personal ad would be short, bald, half neutered, chemoed, radiated, surgically repaired, retired male figure skater of unknown ethnic origin.
You're really selling yourself.
No, yeah. She's a beautiful, intelligent woman for long walks, laughter, and an interest in my hobby for collecting life-threatening illnesses. Like, I'm everybody's dream, right? But that's, it's like I can look at all those things and list them, but, who I am is not this or that or that or that or whatever. It doesn't define me. It's the whole package. And I like to look at that as something that, I'm grateful for.
Well, speaking of illnesses, at a very young age, you contracted some mysterious illness that had stunted your growth. Did they ever diagnose it?
Yeah. I mean, after my testicular cancer, I had chemo, I had 38 staple surgery, and it was pretty rough. So I had the cancer and I decided, I'd change my life. I went out, I got married, I had started a family, and then my son was 6 months old. So I was on the road and I decided, why am I on the road? I want to be home. I want to hear his first words and so I see his first steps. And it's not about me anymore. It's time for me to step away. So I did. And that summer I started to become symptomatic. I had all these kind of physical symptoms like vision changes and energy. I just didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. I just didn't have any strength. And so I went in for some blood tests and they found I had no testosterone in my bloodstream. It was very trace amounts. And so they go, you need to, treat this. And I go, first I want to find out what's causing it. I had blood tests done. They showed very trace amounts of testosterone. And I asked my physicians about it. And they said, basically, that's probably a result of your chemotherapy and your body just is breaking down a little bit from that. And we'll just treat you topically and you should feel great in a matter of weeks. And it's like, no, I need to know. So I went to the Cleveland Clinic where I get treated a lot. So what they found out was I had a brain tumor that wasn't associated at all with my cancer. And I was in the hospital for a week trying to figure out what it was so they could treat it. And they finally had to go through the top of my head, take a piece out and biopsy it. And so I woke up from the surgery and my doctor came in with a smile on his face and my wife came in with a smile on her face. They go, we know what it is and you're going to be okay and we're going to treat it. You're going to be fine. I go, great. So they handed my wife some information on the brain tumor called a craniopharyngioma. My wife's reading it and she goes, oh, this is really interesting. And I said, what does it say? And she goes, the craniopharyngiomas are tumors that someone's born with that usually show itself due to a lack of growth and development in young people. So 40 years later, it was finally diagnosed as a brain tumor. But when you go back to the early 60s, there was no technology to find it. I mean, there was nothing. So I was really lucky that they didn't find a brain tumor back then because, it would have been an open surgery and horrible and my life would have looked a lot different. So for whatever reason, all those years that I skated, the brain tumor did not do any of its mischief. I must have fallen on my head or something.
Well, were you pretty insecure about your height when you were growing up? Like, were kids bullying you and stuff?
Yeah, I was bullied more for being a figure skater than I was for being short. But everywhere I went, I was Shrimp or Peanut or Junior or whatever, the diminutive nicknames were, I got them all. And so I didn't like that. I wasn't confident at school because I was the shortest one in my class. And I didn't really want to date because I just felt awkward. And I was kind of always gone skating. And, I played hockey for 3 years to stop all of the teasing about being a figure skater. I got teased for being adopted. I got teased for pretty much anything and everything. But there was always somebody there to kind of save the day. Like when the kids would tease me about being adopted. And my mom, told me when I was, pretty much as soon as I could understand what that meant, she told me. And I always felt special about that. When I was teased about it, she just said, tell them this next time. So sure enough, they started teasing me about being adopted. And I just said what my mom told me to say. Yes, I was adopted. My parents chose me. Your parents got stuck with whatever came out. and it's teasing, right? So I understood the power of words.
What drew you to figure skating to begin with? Because it's such an obscure sport.
Well, especially in Bowling Green, Ohio. They had just built a skating rink because they wanted to have PE classes. They wanted to have curling. They wanted to have a hockey team at the university. So they built an arena in order to monetize the ice, they opened it up to the public. And so, to give my parents a much needed morning off every week, they sent me to the ice arena, and it was there that I started skating just to give my parents a morning off. But what was sort of miraculous was that while I was skating, I realized that I could do it as well as the well kids, and I could skate. After several weeks, I could skate as well as the best athletes in my grade. And so it really honestly was my first taste of self-esteem. And then my health just started to improve rapidly. And so it was kind of this miracle cure. For as long as I skated, I was able to pretty much live a normal life. And then when I stopped skating, that's when the tumor kind of showed itself.
Your mother had also gotten diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, I believe, which she ultimately succumbed to. And I think you were a teenager at the time.
I was 18.
18. How did her sickness and her passing affect you?
Well, during those teenage years, I was pretty selfish. I was coming in last in competitions. I was undertrained, undercommitted, I just was kind of definition of a loser, and then she always sacrificed. She always sacrificed, even in the years where, I was horrific and pitiful on the ice. She never gave up. She realized that this saved my life, so there must be something in it, and that we're going to stay with it no matter what. And we're going to keep going. And if we're going to go bankrupt, doesn't matter. We're going to keep you in the sport. And it was this unconditional show of love. And when she was dying, I was still failing. Right after she got diagnosed, I sort of woke up for a year, and I won the junior national championships. But that was after coming in last, next to last, and second to last. The last competition my mother saw me skate in, I ended up coming in 9th again. Which was my number at nationals, 9th, usually out of 9, but this time it was out of 12. And when I lost her, the morning I lost her, I realized that she'd done everything for me, and I never really sacrificed anything for her. And so I decided that I was going to be everything that she thought I could be. And so I took her with me wherever I went. And there's not a day I don't talk about her, ever. And I lost her 41 years ago, and I talk about her every day. So she was an amazing, powerful, beautiful, positive influence in my life, very sacrificial, and I needed to learn how to be like her. And so she showed up when I was diagnosed with cancer. Man, it was 20 years after I lost her, and then all the memories came rushing back of how she went through hers. And she would say things like, "Oh, this chemotherapy is wonderful. I'm finally losing this weight I've always wanted to lose." And she'd say, "Oh, this chemotherapy is great. I've always wanted to quit smoking, and now I have no desire. Oh, this chemotherapy is phenomenal. My hair was always such a problem. These wigs are so much easier." And that was her mindset. And I was like, that's what showed up when I was diagnosed, is that's how I want to go through it. I don't want to go through it dooming and glooming. I want to go through it looking at every positive, bright side I possibly could.
So in a way, her passing did something to you to allow yourself mentally to take it to another level.
It woke me up. I every day when I trained, I'd get on the ice and I would train harder. I wouldn't miss a minute of practice. I'd be the first one on and the last one off. I was really pushing myself to do things I'd never been able to do before, that nobody had been able to do before. And, so it was one of those things that I just decided that I needed to be hungry. I got obsessed, and my training improved, my commitment improved, my accountability improved, and all those things just sort of culminated in me now starting to get much, much better results. But her passing was the catalyst.
This is a hypothetical that's honestly impossible to answer, but that never stops me from asking them.
Yeah.
Reverse time, and your mother doesn't ever get diagnosed with cancer, and she's fine and lives a healthy life. Do you think you're not a gold medalist, and does your life evolve in a different way?
I think about that a lot. I'll never know. I do think that, through my faith, God had a plan for me all along. And I do think that I needed to do my part, that's faith. You do your part, he's going to do his part, so I don't know. I know that was a huge wake up call for me, that she had sacrificed everything and I hadn't done my part. So, just decided to wake up, grow up, put my big boy pants on and get to work.
It took a while to break beyond just the top 10 to the top, 1, 2, 3. And the first time you competed at the national championships, I think you fell 5 times and came in last. But I mean, still even competing at that level is impressive. But
not when you're a boy. Not when you're a boy. You see, in figure skating, it's 90% women, right? So if you're a girl and you medal, you're really good. But if you're a boy and you don't, you got to start working harder. You really do. So for me, it was, where there'd be 50 girls in an event at a competition, there'd be 5 guys.
You talk about how all this losing was somehow actually helpful in preparing you for future success. Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, I became so familiar with it that I understood it. And it was like I didn't fear it. Like if I stepped on the ice, I was able to be more aggressive because if I came in last, I've been there before. I'm still here. I wasn't disfigured or, tarred and feathered and run out of town. It was just something bad that happened that I needed to learn from. And so, looking at competitions, in preparation and with planning and with the day-to-day training, I kind of figured out what I needed to do to win. And right after I switched coaches, I went to Don Laws and he put me on a leash that was about 2 inches long. And he said, here's how we're going to train from now on. You're accountable when you're on the ice. And I understood that process because I did it a little bit and I had to be completely 100% self motivated and accountable. So he put it on me. It's like your success rises and falls on your ability to train. And so I just worked harder than I've ever worked before. And I started seeing that this working hard thing really works. I was more consistent. I started skating stronger. I was able to get through programs easier. I was able to be more consistent. I was able to do a lot of things I never was able to do before. And it was just by, I showed up every day with an intention of getting better. And then pretty soon things were going really well. So the idea that timing this, timing that, when I made it to the Olympics in 1980, I thought I was going to be 8th at the best. The best I could do is 8th. And I came in 5th. And it was unbelievable. And then I went to the Worlds right after that, came in 5th, which was unbelievable. But I'd skated really well in the free skating, both those competitions. And so I was able to rise up. When I went home to train that after the World Championships, I woke up one morning and realized that I'm 5th in the world and the top 3 guys all retired. So all I had to do is wake up and I'm now ranked 2nd in the world, which is, a pretty spectacular cup of coffee. So I go, what do I need to do now to be 1st in the world? And it was there that Don just said, what's the part of your job you like least? And I said, oh, that's easy. Compulsory figures. He goes, you're not allowed to dislike them anymore because the guy that you want to beat is brilliant at compulsory figures. And so I had to find a way to rise up above my hatred of compulsory figures. And the more I tried to make it a game, the more I tried to enjoy them, the more I realized that it was totally my attitude that held me back. And I just needed to kind of get over these things and start to understand that it's out there. You just have to really strive for it.
You say in the book that to be a winner, you first have to act like a winner. Is this part of what you're talking about? Just attitude and how you carry yourself, that sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to become a winner by acting like a loser. It's like, and loser seems like such a horrible term. It's just almost like putting salt into an open wound. But
do you mean how you act off the ice impacts how you act on the ice?
I think it's a complete package. Part of skating is you're judged. And, I had a friend of mine ask me, I guess it was about a year or so ago, and it was kind of like this epiphany. He goes, why is it that there's been a lot of people in your position, a lot of Olympic gold medalists, a lot of this, a lot of that, and yet you still are able to remain sellable, viable, successful? Why do you think that is? And I go, I honestly don't know. I think just people like me. And he goes, likable. That's brilliant. He goes, likable. Wow. That's the stuff. That's it. I mean, that if you're likable, opportunity comes. If you're likable, people are willing to give you, benefit of the doubt. If you're likable, people are going to get behind you. And so I put that in the book. It's like, let's be friendly. Let's be open. Let's be honest. Let's be the type of person other people enjoy being with. It doesn't always have to be this abrasive, aggressive, over the top competitiveness that makes people go, ooh. It can be, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to be as good as I can be. And then at the end of the day, I understand that I treat people with respect and honesty and everything else I possibly can.
So take me back to the moment you're on the Olympic stand with your gold medal hanging around your neck, the national anthem reverberating throughout the arena. Do you remember the feeling? Do you remember the sights and sounds?
It's honestly every single emotion that you can carry in your brain. It is the joy of, I can't believe I made it all this way and I've won, and the pride of having a gold medal around my neck and for my country. And then all of a sudden the other ones creep in. And then it's like the sadness and devastation that the journey is over. It was so wonderful and powerful and wonderful. And then looking over the edge of the podium like a cliff, it's like, well, who am I now? And the person that was in pursuit of this no longer exists. Now, what am I going to do? And then the guilt. It's like, how many people were a part of this moment and I'm the only one standing here? It's unfair. So there was every emotion you could possibly, the devastation of my mom should be here to see this moment. And, it was just, it was really wild. It was just absolutely insane. It was more than just, yay, I won. It was more than that. It was like, wow, this is life. Now my life is forever changed. And who am I now? And what am I going to do with myself?
It was the culmination of a life of sacrifice.
That's very dramatic.
Well, right. I mean, to some degree, you hear all these stories about people that are competitive at the world level and they don't win the medal, and it's traumatizing for them.
And I think you've got to go in with, you go into an Olympic competition without a parachute. You just, you do go in, thinking I'm all in, but you also, I understood it's ice. I could hit a rut or step in a hole, and that's going to change the entire result. There's preparation, and there's also a little bit of luck, and there's also a lot of timing involved in all of it. So, you could be the fastest guy on the planet, and then all of a sudden you look to your left and Usain Bolt standing next to you. Oops. It's like that, and so it's timing. Like 4 years later, my skating was basically obsolete.
Well, you wrote that for years you kept your Olympic gold medal in a brown paper bag in your underwear drawer. Is that really true? Like you worked your tail off and then instead of putting it on the fireplace mantle, you stuffed it in a drawer?
No, the thing is I knew that, and I'd seen it. I pay attention to a lot of things. And what I saw was so many people got stuck in that moment. Like, this is all I'm ever going to be for the rest of my life. And so I looked at, I was really happy that I'd won the competition. That's first and foremost. The medal thing was kind of like, I didn't understand it then. And when I came to faith, I realized that it almost offended me as an idol. As long as the medal is prominent, then it takes away from the accomplishment. I wanted to get rid of it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And so in 1992, I was elected into the World Figure Skating Hall of Fame. And I reached out to them. I go, do you guys have any Olympic gold medals on display? And they go, no. I go, do you want mine? And they're like, yes. And so, do you want all my stuff? And they go, sure. So I gave them everything. So they have my outfits, my boots, blades, medals, everything. They have everything because I just didn't want that to be baggage or an anchor to prevent me from moving forward.
So, Scott, we've all heard the famous Woody Allen quote, 80% of life is just showing up. You talk in the book about how there's no magic bullet to success. You have to put in the time, but most people don't. That most people aren't willing to make the sacrifices. So is there not a talent quotient in there somewhere? Like, it's not like you're the only person, the only figure skating competitor that's putting in the hours, right? And yet only one person is sitting on the gold medal stand.
Yeah, I mean, again, it just comes down to being the right guy at the right time. It's preparation. It's understanding the world around you. It's making sure that you're giving yourselves giving yourself every opportunity to be successful. And, honestly, if you're only looking at the gold as being the only victory, I'll refute that 100 million times. It's like, yeah, it's great. And it really is, something special. But, for the guy that came in 5th, that's also a victory. For the guy that came in 11th, maybe they expect to be 18th. Maybe they never placed that high before in world competition. They're victories to be enjoyed and to be recognized throughout any of these events. And everyone's victory is going to be different. The idea of finish first is that means you're putting yourself in a position to be better than you've ever been before. Finishing first is like, that's my finish first, is I've never been this good. I've never been this proficient. I've never thought that I'd be able to do the things that I can do right now. And that's just committing to the long haul. And with each of these, and I count showing up as a finish first moment. If you show up, that's a win. If you show up every day, that's, 5 more wins or 7 more wins if you do it every day in a week. And, and all those victories pile up to be something really special, because once you reach a goal, you'll realize that there's 5 more things to be done on top of that. And then 5 more for each one of those. And so the idea that winning changes everything is true, that once you get into a winning mindset and once you get into an idea that you're going to compete with other people around you in your space, and you're going to get better every day, and you're going to work hard, and you're going to show up. It's truly amazing that all of that creates more opportunity and more opportunities to win. And that's basically the premise of the book.
Well, as we talked about earlier, not only did you lose your mother to cancer, you had your own bouts, first testicular cancer and then multiple bouts of brain cancer. You mentioned that you're a man of faith, and you talk about that, pretty openly. So I'm curious, do you feel in some spiritual way that you're meant to overcome all this extreme adversity so somehow you could be in a position to help others with their own personal battles?
Well, I'll answer that question with a question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? You know what I mean? So one comes out of the other one comes out of the, it's just this perpetual motion machine that, once you get on the ride, once you get on this track, it's kind of addictive. You kind of want more of it, and you're willing to take things to the next level. So for years and years and years, I got by on very minimal effort and very minimal results, so they kind of go hand in hand, but you also have to be very patient. It doesn't happen overnight. And I like to eliminate words like sacrifice, hard work, determination. And I like to, replace those with, it's all about commitment and repetition. Honestly, it is. For people that say, I can't skate, I'll never be able to skate, I just can't do it. It's like, do you remember learning how to walk? They go, no. I go, well, you fell down a lot. You might have split your chin open. Who knows? There's a lot of failing that went into learning how to walk, but it's the same thing with skating. It's the more you do it, the more you're committed to get better, the more it becomes natural. And then you don't think about it anymore.
Just to pivot for a moment, the general prevailing wisdom in today's society is that winning doesn't matter. We get trophies just for showing up. And I know you're not crazy about that. Why have we become so soft?
I don't know. I mean, you could look at it in a lot of ways, lazy parenting. It's like, it could be, the way, our society, look at America, as a country, we have everything. We have everything we need in abundance. And there are, huge segments of our population that don't experience that. And maybe, they're denied, or they're, diminished in some way in their pursuit, or maybe they don't have pursuit at all because they've already given up. But the idea that where there's opportunity, there's growth potential, and there's joy factors. And as human beings, we all want the same things. We all want to be loved. We all want to be validated, and we all want to have opportunity, to experience great things. And once, you kind of, the opportunity side of it becomes, there's no reward to it anymore, then it becomes like, well, we'll just get up and sit down over here and wait for the day to end, and then we'll kind of find something else to do, you know?
What do you say to the parent that says, look, what's wrong with being inclusive? Why not let every kid feel like they're a winner somehow? It'll boost their self-esteem.
Well, it doesn't, because the kids know when they lose a game and they get the same trophy as everybody else, they kind of go, I didn't earn this. Then nothing is special. If they go out and they win everything, they go out and have an 11-0 flag football season and they get the same trophy as everybody else, then the win doesn't mean anything. And in that way, but they still have the feeling that they accomplished something. They just don't have any hardware that's different or better than anybody else, but they still have the memory of it. So, participation trophies are fine if you want people to think that they don't really ever need to do anything with their lives. And if that's a lesson you're teaching in that, then I think kids are going to struggle. But if they really get to work for something and they just miss it, or if they miss it altogether, then they know they have to work harder and get better. And it's like I joke all the time that, I can work as hard as I possibly can and I'll never dunk a basketball, and that's okay.
Well, maybe you need to push yourself a little bit further.
Well, yeah, right. But then I think about, Shaquille O'Neal will never do a backflip on ice skates, and there's a lot of things that we just normally have, a skill set that we normally have that other people can't even imagine doing. So we all have within us our identity, our given set of aptitudes, and we just have to recognize them and act on them. And winning does matter. I think winning gives us that satisfaction of job well done. But, it's like almost, for me, it's like I'd always tell a lot of people that the process of competing and skating is brutal and I didn't like it, but I did love the 10 minutes after I won. That 10 minutes is like this glow of like, yes, oh, that was so great. Okay. Now there goes 9:59, 10 minutes, back to work. All right, let's get back to work. We got something else that's coming up in a month or two. So it's a never ending deal, but it's way healthier than just waiting for life to come to you.
I'm curious which Scott Hamilton you identify with the most, the figure skater, the cancer survivor, the motivational speaker, or the spouse and the father?
I would go probably family first, always, family first. That's the essence of everything. If you're struggling in your family, you're struggling in every aspect of your life, so, you try to focus on that. I always joke that we put the fun in dysfunctional, but, it's all families are, it's a challenge, and it's ever changing and it's ever growing. And, I love the speaking. I enjoy it. I love being with people. I love being in front of people. I love the fact that I still do a lot of work in the cancer space with my CARES Foundation, and, trying to, fund the right research to change cancer forever. I love the fact that, I got a skating academy and I'm able to really use my knowledge and leverage relationships in order to build something truly special for young people that want to aspire to be competitive skaters. So there, right now, I couldn't be more at peace. I have to deal with my health stuff all the time, but I don't allow that to rob my joy in every other aspect. I really try to enjoy every moment of everything, because I know that God made us temporary, and it was important that he did that. So I know I'm temporary.
I find it pretty cruel myself.
Yeah, not getting out of this alive, but it's like I've got this body that's kind of let me down on many occasions, and it's also risen up on many occasions. But to leave this world to the next, which is forever, with a forever body that never gets sick, that's kind of compelling to me. And, a lot of people have a hard time understanding that or feeling that or getting behind that. And I just, I compare it to everything else and I go, that's still the best deal.
The name of this podcast is The Art of Excellence. What do you think of when you think of the word excellence?
I think it's doing something as well as it can be done. I think that you can try to, put like a benchmark up, and that's as well as it's been done. And how do we get to that or get past it? It's truly amazing that, we are all given skill sets. We're all given identities. We're all given certain things that we're drawn to. And I think that's the excellence there. That excellence is, leveraging everything that we have to live a life, the best life we possibly can.
Well, the book again is Finish First. Winning Changes Everything. It was a really, really compelling book, and you brought a lot of yourself to it. Highly recommended. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You've had, I feel like, multiple lives all wrapped up in one. I still remember and honestly get chills when I go back to 1984 and think of the whole thing. I wasn't a big fan of figure skating, but I watched that performance, and
thank you.
I think it affected me. It affected the nation. Thanks for sharing your story. Really enjoyed it.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity, and thanks for all the kind words, and I wish you the best.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. You can subscribe to the show at iTunes, Stitcher, and theartofexcellence.com. I've got one small favor to ask. If you like the show, please take a minute and leave us a review on iTunes. I would really appreciate that. I'll see you next time.